listening to the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast with Tony D. Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast, your episodic dose of trivia covering all things video games and nerdy. Now, here's your host, Tony D.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast. I'm your host, Tony, and today we're going to be doing another Minisode. On Minisodes, we ask you just 10 questions instead of the regular 3 rounds of 10 questions, which is 30 questions. So on today's 10 question episode, we're going to be going over iconic video game bosses. So super iconic video game bosses, but I'm not going to be including the super obvious ones like, Bowser or Mike Tyson or something like that. But hopefully the questions here are still iconic enough for you to guess. So I'm going to be asking you a question, giving you 5 seconds of silence, and then telling you the answer. Alright, let's play. Question 1. There are a ton of emotions going on as you battle this boss from the Final Fantasy series after the murder of Aerith. Which boss is this? This is Sephiroth. Question 2. In a game known for being back-to-back boss fights, you play as Wander and fight this giant boss battle after 15 other massive boss challenges. What is the name of the final boss in this game, which is Shadow of the Colossus? That would be Malice. Alright, question 3. Will you shed some tears? You play as Dante as you fight this final boss of the Devil May Cry game. Who is this? This is Virgil. Question 4. This final boss is the namesake of the game itself, and it breaks tradition in that there's no Ganondorf, no Hyrule, and no Zelda in the final battle. Who is this boss? This would be Majora from Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Question 5. This final boss in this From Software game is an almost godlike being and banished darkness from the world to bring an age of civilization. Who is this? This is Gwen from Dark Souls. Question 6. Undertale subverts expectations as the final boss is your tutorial guide. What is this boss name? This would be Flowey or Flowey? Not really sure how you pronounce it, but he looks like a flower, so maybe Flowey. Question 7. Though reimagined recently as a general in the most recent game of Mortal Kombat 1, this mainstay character was a menacing boss and emperor of Outworld in the original series timeline. Who is he? This is Shao Kahn. In the recent Mortal Kombat 1 reboot, he's actually just General Shao. Question 8. This is a hidden boss character that takes the normal version of the character and ups it by 10 in the Street Fighter series. Instead of 1, he shoots 2 fireballs in the air, and his raging demon is much faster. Who is this? This is Shin Akuma, or in the Japanese version, Shin Gauki. Question 9. Unique at the time, this final boss battle in a versus fighting game series is a giant blue mutant, where he mostly fights you with his giant blue arm. Who is this? This is Apocalypse. And finally, question 10. Portrayed recently in the live-action movie by Jim Carrey, this mainstay villain of the Sonic series has been the final boss for nearly all the games in the series. Who is this? This is Dr. Robotnik, or his other name is also Dr. Eggman. Alright, hope you enjoyed that episode. A lot of these video game bosses are part of my childhood growing up, so it was really fun for me to write this episode. Hopefully they were part of your childhood too. If you like this episode, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps us reach more people. And if you have any topic suggestions, please email me at vgntpodcast@gmail.com and I'll give you a shout out in a future episode. But again, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, trivia on. So super iconic video game bosses, but I'm not going to be including the super obvious ones like, Bowser or Mike Tyson or something like that. But hopefully the questions here are still iconic enough for you to guess.